on the QISJ platform. That is one of the things we are going to be talking about on this Konnekt Live Wednesday Drive. And I'll be your host, Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK, and you know how we do. This is one of the most interactive sessions that you're going to have if you're a car lover. We try to get up close and interactive with you guys. Now, we do this on Wednesdays, and you know how we do. We start by knowing where you are and where you are watching us from as we kickstart this discussion. So part of the highlights of this live is we are going to discuss the sudden shift from the QISJ Verify Mileage platform to being free to having to pay 500 Kenya shillings to verify your mileage. Well, the other thing we're going to talk about is getting to answer your car-related questions. So let's get started on this. I can see Tycoon saying we are very ready. Justin Seretti saying, VP Eric, just connected from Kampala, Uganda, the 256. And his Mwans is early today. And we have David Kamau Maina, who is tuned in from Githunguri. I don't know kama Githunguri kuna mvua saa hii. The other thing is you can unaweza changia chai kidogo ya Gen Z with experience pale ukicheza na super chat. So as we start this, also remember, if this content is insightful to you, you can hit the super chat button, and that will go a long way into ensuring that everybody on the team is well motivated as we come to give you this live broadcast. In Kiswahili we say kupeperusha matangazo kwa njia mubashara kabisa. We have Achieng Frederick, who is live from Rarieda, very ready. Cromswell is saying Wakabi here in Kapsabet. Salimiana pale Namgoi sana. Adrian is saying, hey everyone. Kevin Wekesa is saying, hello Eric. I'm Kevin from Jamaica is locked in. Lenny Mashari is saying, Eric, hiyo kiti naweza weka kwa Subaru. Lenny, this is actually a genuine Recaro seat, and it's from this short wheelbase 2-door or 3-door Pajero. Iko hapa, powered by a Ford D56. Very nice car, and it's here for some works. Tuendele, we have TK from Doni. Kenyan Mafia is watching from Kirugoya. Big up Sokabi, you're a motivator in my car life. Asante sana. David Mutama is saying, watching live from diaspora. Which part of diaspora? So as guys continue streaming in, we can proceed with our discussion. So now, you remember before you buy a car, we would verify the mileage through QISJ. And now it turns out that from now onwards, you have to pay. Ukienda pale, if you go to the QISJ verify site and you just put in the chassis number of the vehicle you're buying, it's now linking you to another site where you have to pay 500 Kenya shillings to access the mileage at the time of inspection of that car. So Kenyans are heavily dependent on QISJ as a way of verifying the mileage of their car. But the question is QISJ the only platform whereby you can access the mileage of your vehicle? Well, it's not the only platform, and I'm going to explain why and how. But first things first, not all cars are on the QISJ platform. Only cars that have undergone QISJ inspection, and they have either undergone through this QISJ inspection in Japan, Thailand, the UK, and South Africa. For Singapore and Australia, you have to do something that is called a local inspection. Also, not all cars from Japan will have their mileage on QISJ. And I'm talking about this because there is a small hitch we had with a client who was saying that something about the car, the mileage, claiming that the mileage was altered. But let me explain something. If you do what is called a local inspection is you ship a car from Japan and not have it inspected in Japan and then come to inspect it in Kenya. So the only way you're going to have the mileage is on the KEBS certificate of roadworthiness. That is where the mileage of the vehicle is going to be recorded. But this is the mileage after the vehicle has got to a CFS in Mombasa. Tuko pamoja. So that is what is called local inspections. That's why sometimes you're going to check up the mileage of a vehicle, and it's not, once you click verify, it's going to tell you no records found or something like that. Most of those cars are cars that have undergone what is called local inspection. The other group of cars that may have to go through local inspection are cars from Australia, sometimes cars from South Africa. But in South Africa, as per our last trip, there is a QISJ verification center in Johannesburg. So the cars that are likely not to have a QISJ on the platform are cars from Singapore or cars from Japan that have undergone local inspection, or from any other market. So which is the other way you can verify mileage for your vehicle? If the vehicle is from the United Kingdom, there is something that is called the MOT, and MOT is available to the general public. So you can be able to have your, verify your mileage from MOT. The other way is also in the UK there are auctions, only that their auction sheet is very different from what we have in Kenya. The other way is buying a report, and this is for Japanese cars. You can buy a report from several sites that sell these reports, and not only in Japan, UK, Japan, and Australia. You can actually buy the history of the vehicle. But now, to verify mileage on QISJ is only 500 bob. But to buy those reports, they go for an excess of 3,000 Kenya shillings. So they are not cheap. In fact, even with the new development with QISJ is still the cheapest way to verify your vehicle's mileage if it has been tampered with. So the other way is mostly for the modern cars, the modern cars that are advanced in technology, like BMW, Mercedes Benzes, hizi gari zingine zinaitwaje? For Mazda, not so much, but with a BMW and a Mercedes Benz, and also for Range Rovers, Land Rovers, you can be able to get the actual mileage by using a certain program that inahesabingi service intervals, and then it can also tell from the key fob the actual mileage of the vehicle. Ni venye sikumbuki hiyo software inaitwaje. So with modern cars, there are other ways of verifying the mileage. But remember, most of these softwares are dealer provided. Tuko pamoja hadi hapo. So from yesterday, actually not yesterday, from today, you will be paying to verify mileage on your QISJ platform. So 500 Kenya shillings is the same amount you're going to be paid you would pay to conduct a search for your motor vehicle. For instance, kama unataka kujua gari ni ya nani on the eCitizen Teams platform, ile Teams ya NTSA, si Teams ya KRA. So, but for that one you pay like 550. Yeah, so we are becoming very commercial. Vitu za bure zinaisha. Si wanasamanga hakuna kitu cha bure. Wacha tuendelee. Josh Homan is glad to be here. Jesse Ngeno is watching us from Westlands, Nairobi. Drake Kevin is saying, hi bro, good work. I saw you reached Luanda, Western Kenya. Yes, I was in Luanda, and the vehicle I was driving there is an Isuzu D-Max TFS 86. Let me give you a small overview of the TFS 86. So the TFS 86 is a four-wheel drive single cab. And one thing I'll tell you is, apart from being a normal car guy, I love pickups. I love pickups so much, and driving pickups is very addictive. So the TFS 86 four-wheel drive single cab is powered by a 2.5 liter 4JK TCX engine. The turbocharger on it is what is called a fixed geometry turbocharger. This is for the local spec. And what a fixed geometry turbocharger means is that the turbocharger spools at a certain RPM. Now, the modern D-Maxes and the modern Hiluxes have what is called a VNT, or a variable geometry turbo. So a variable geometry turbo spools, the turbo spools irrespective of RPM. Kutoka huko 500 ita spool, but a fixed geometry turbo will only start spooling at around 1000 RPM hapo. Yeah, around 1000 RPM. For the 4JK1 TCX, I've had a privilege of owning one, and it's a vehicle that will give you very good fuel economy. It's also very good in terms of power, performance. It will get the job done. But one thing you don't do in an Isuzu D-Max is, if you can't drive a manual, achana na hiyo gari, sababu utachoma clutch ama uharibu diff. Those are the only two weaknesses. In fact, D-Maxes are for good drivers. So one thing is, if you own a D-Max, make sure the person driving it is a person who knows how to drive that vehicle. Otherwise, utakuwa unanunua clutch kila siku. You'll be buying the clutch kit every day. And the clutch kits for D-Maxes, the genuine ones, are not cheap, because they'll set you back over 45,000 Kenya shillings. For the ones that are not, okay, for the ones that are not number one, or for other brands that are not OEM, you'll be getting them for like 35K. So it's not a cheap affair. So always take care of that clutch if you're driving a D-Max. Sawa. So thank you so much. And the people of Luanda are always very good. They are very hospitable. Luanda is in Vihiga County, and to the people who know what Vihiga is famous for, I think what Vihiga kina Ching Frederick, you can tell people what Bunyore is famous for. All right, let's go on. Francis Ndiritu is saying, hi Wakabi, with a budget of 1 million, can I get a clean local used NV200? Well, you would have to be very lucky, and I'm saying this because the NV200, the prices have really gone high. The NV200, the prices have really gone up, and this is because of one thing. The NV200 has proved to be a vehicle that makes more, najua nitatupiwa mawe, but let me just say it as it is. The NV200 actually makes more sense compared to a Toyota Probox. It has bigger space. It's mostly in terms of space, and price-wise has jachana sana. So what happened is, most of the people who would not afford a foreign used NV200 and wanted something bigger than a Probox, wote walienda kwa NV200. Sawa. So what did this do? It made the prices of the NV200s go up. I remember in last year was 2025. In 2023, late 2023, we would get those NV200s for like 700K because nobody knew what the NV200 really meant. But I'll tell you one thing, Nissan is known for having problematic gearboxes, but the NV200 comes with a 4-speed automatic transmission. So that's one win. And you know, the Probox from the year of manufacture 2014, the new shape one, the one that has the different lights, they shifted from having a 4-speed automatic to having a CVT. So most people tried to started shying away from the Probox, and that is what has made the NV200, the prices of the NV200 spiral. Sahi hata kupata NV200 imelala, kuuziwa unauziwa bei iko juu sana. The only setback with the NV200 is one very common problem with Nissans, and that is the suspension. You have to keep on replacing the bushes. So with 1 million, will you get a clean one? Yes, you will get a clean NV200, but you will have to be very, 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 very patient, because one thing about vehicles that are used commercially is, more often than not, they are abused. So for you to get a clean one, you have to be patient. And I would advise this, not many showrooms would actually be selling a clean NV200. And if they are selling a clean one, it's going to be pricey. So the best thing is to buy it from somebody who is using it. And if you're lucky, you can also buy it from a company. Hizo at least inakuanga zimemaintainiwa vizuri kidogo. So yes, you can get it, and it's an amazing vehicle. We proceed. Let me see. Okay. David Kamau is saying, I want to correct you on the 1GD. Produces 170 horsepower until 2020. From 2021, it's 204 horsepower flywheel horsepower. Well, I'll tell you something, David Kamau Maina. Nataka kucorrect kidogo pia. 1GD, the power rating on the 1GD on the let's tuchukue 2020 for instance. So the 1GD was introduced in 2016. Are we together? 2016. Higher. There were some updates done because it came on the Hilux, the Prado, and the Fortuner. From later on, it was on the Toyota Hiace, plus a few other vehicles like the Hilux Champ na hizo gari zingine. The 1GD on the Prado, the power output on the Prado, the Fortuner is a bit different. Also within the Prados, kuna moja inaitwa 3DA. Sawa? A particular model of the Prado that is called, the Prado 150 called the 3DA with the 1GD. Now, it has slightly more horsepower compared to the non-3DA Prado 150 with still the same 1GD. Tuendele, as if that is not enough, we have the 1GD that came in later that is around 201 horsepower. So whenever you talk about the 1GD, you have to be very specific on the vehicle it is on. The other thing, tuongea kuhusu talk, I want to show you how different the ratings can be. If you're having a 1GD on a Prado or a Hilux with an automatic transmission, it will generate around 500 Newton meters of torque for the later models. For the earlier models, it will generate around 450 huko. Now, even on the manual versions with the 1GD, they'll have lower torque compared to the automatic one. So, huwezi sema 1GD ama waka fulani ilikuwa na this power output. The power output varies with the vehicle that it is on, and that is all because of tune. You know, one thing I have come to really love about the 1GD, and it's very emotional, it's because when the 1GD was launched in Kenya back in 2016, tulikuwa hapo. We were there when the official launch of the 1GD came, and this was I remember we were there at the Ngong Race Course track with Akina JM Baraza. That time I was not in the, you know, amko mnaniona sana. I used to write for some magazine back then. So I've seen the 1GD evolve over time. So it has been in the Kenyan roads for 10 years now. So it's no longer a new engine. Sawa sawa. Tuendelee kidogo. James Munyi is saying, hello Eric, tuko hapa bypass tunangoja 8 million check. Sitamaliza hiyo nini. Lenny Machario is saying, how well can one secure their vehicles? Kuna watu walikuwa Obina TV and usually they actually opened a Harrier with a gadget without having the actual keys. Something anti-jama security. Well, I always say, one way to... Unajua mimi ile gari naendesha ni gari mzee. Mimi hata yangu nikiacha hapa kwa parki hata hakuna mtu anaweza iba. Because probably hata mafuta hawezi sustain. So one, I'm not telling you to buy old cars like me. Or thirsty cars like me. But there's one thing I'll tell you. Security measures. Because, you see, as new cars come with new technology, also the theft also, wezi pia wanajanjaruka. But I always say something. For somebody to be able to open it with those devices, they must have cloned the signal from somewhere. And that somewhere is your key fob. And there are some pockets to put your key fob that prevents anybody from getting those signals. And they go for like 1,000 bob, I guess. Ziko kwa soko. So the measures are always there. But I always tell you one thing. Security starts with yourself. So if you park your vehicle carelessly, be rest assured it's also it might go. And one thing I'll tell you, thieves never have time. So kama uko na ile steering lock, kama ile pedal lock, kama anything, they want something they can just get in and drive. So it's also good to start reinvesting in those, you know, that technology we had earlier on, the crude mechanical ones, zile za kufunga steering, kufunga gear lever, ama accelerator pedal, ama brake pedal. So are we together up to that point? Yeah. Gerald Kamau saying, hi Eric, what are your thoughts on the Mazda CX-5 petrol turbo compared to the diesel variant? I would buy the petrol turbo any day, anytime. The only setback is that it's a bit thirsty. In fact, the petrol turbo is more powerful compared to the diesel turbo. Yes. Nicholas, Eric Niaje, can you talk about the body and the interior, both the Mazda and Subaru cars? Nicholas, which specific ones? But one thing I'll tell you, in general, Mazdas have better interior. This is something that you cannot hide. Kenyan Mafia is saying, which of the German machines, sedans or hatchbacks, can rival Japanese models in terms of low cost of maintenance and reliability? Kenyan Mafia, I would say in terms of reliability, Mercedes is quite good in terms of reliability. Volkswagen, some Volkswagens are also very, Volkswagens, all they want is care. And you need to be very careful with Volkswagens. Nikama, it's like having allow me to use this example. It is like having a Toggenburg goat, zile mbuzi za maziwa, and a Gala goat. A Gala goat is ni kienyeji kabisa, but it's more resistant. The Doppers and the Dopper ni sheep. In fact, let's use the sheep. Ukiwa na Dopper na ukiwa na the Masai sheep, ama ile kondo ya kienyeji, the Dopper they say it has better meat quality, which I don't 100% agree, but let's say as it's put. So they gain weight faster, they have more meat, they have a better quality carcass. But if you look at the Masai sheep, it is smaller, but it does not yield as much as a Dopper. But now it can withstand even drought. Masai sheep ukiachilia huku inakulanga hadi mchanga, but Dopper ikula mchanga manze inasonga. Sawa. Same case with chicken. You cannot compare kienyeji chicken, kienyeji improved na broiler. For instance, Toyota ni kienyeji kabisa. Kienyeji improved hapo, tukijaribu kuangalia European, kienyeji improved might be probably Volkswagen. But now we are heading to broiler. We are looking at not even all VWs are kienyeji improved. It's only that there is so much support for VWs, unlike what we had up on Beleni. So Toyotas, yes, they are hardy, but they will not give you the premium features you would get in European cars. But back then, before manufacturers started building cars with planned obsolescence in mind, we had some very reliable Mercedes Benzes, Akina W211, Akina W210, W202. They were simply unkillable, and they live up to date. We have so many people with those old Mercedes. But these days, there was the golden era where all manufacturers were trying to build cars to outlive one another. The longevity was the thing. Right now, it's all about features. No one cares about how long a car is going to serve you, and that's why we are seeing Chinese in the picture. However, if you're looking at European cars that might be close to where Toyotas are, I'll tell you about Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen. Those ones at least pia tunazijua sana. That would be my argument on that case. Achieng Frederick anasema kitu siwezi sema on air. Anasema Vihiga wako na kitu ingine legit. MC Nyerere saying mnaweza tuongeza volume kidogo kindly. Anyone else with a volume problem? Andy, maybe you can pop up the volume kidogo. David Kamau is saying, did you know that the African 4JG3 produces 207 horsepower and not 140 kilowatts, for they don't have a catalytic converter? The engine breathes better, same case as a 1KD. Yes, I know that, and that is why you will see most people loving the VXL. But one thing I'll tell you is that with or without the catalytic converter, the power difference is not much. And I'll tell you why. You might agree with me or you might not. Choice of tires is one thing. If you have swapped in bigger tires, I think there are places to try and no, we are talking about power output from where? Are we talking about power output at the point where the flywheel passes it on to the transmission, or are we talking about horsepower kwa mguu? That is very important. Yes. Na ukitaka kujua it's important, take your car for a dyno ikiwa na and try to make some factors. Also, for turbocharged engines, attitude sometimes, altitude will also affect the power output. The maintenance of the car also will itachangia. So yes, I agree sometimes, because, and that's why I said the 1GD in a particular market might not necessarily have the same power output as a 1GD in another market. Tuendelee. Benson Otonda saying, "Hi Wakabi, following from Maseno. The ambulance series made me think of buying one for 1.2 point 1 to point B. I am from Vihiga, usituchomee sana. Tulizima hiyo kitu pale Kakamega." Kama hiyo kitu mliambiwa hiyo kitu ya jana. Kama hiyo kitu mlizima kama hiyo kitu ya jana. So you see, you can't Otonda, you can't buy an ambulance for driving from point A to point B, because even as you had, by the guys, if you have not watched our ambulance episode, it's on. We posted it yesterday. You can go there, and it's a long video, so unaweza enda hapo usome, get to learn about ambulances as well. I think from point A to point B in an ambulance, you need to have all those certifications that Alvin mentioned on that particular video. It's an interesting video, neni muone, and also get to learn that ambulance pia inasimamishangwa na polisi. Haya, tuendelee. Okay. Juma Flavian is saying, "Hi Eric, thanks for the insight. Suggest for me a perfect opinion below a perfect option below 600k that is one that is easy on fuel, adequate cargo space for family and small errands. Toyota Ractis." Consider Toyota Ractis, first gen. Daniel also, by the way, a Ractis, a Toyota Raum, Nissan Note E11, Nissan Tida, which other vehicle? I've given you how many Nissan? I've given you 2 Nissans, the Note E11 and the Tida. I've also given you the Toyota Raum. I've given you an option of the Toyota Ractis. Which other one? And the Toyota Spacios, by the way. Nobody talks about those cars anymore, and they are very friendly and very easy to maintain. So it's a vehicle that you can also throw into that. Yeah, because they are really nice. Also, before I forget, the Toyota Spade. The earlier Spade ilikuwa inaitwaje? Ilikuwa na jina ingine. The one that has Pote. But I had a client alikuwa anakaita Kapoti. But inaitwa Pote. It's called a Toyota Pote. Daniel Andama is saying, "Hey Eric, Serena e-Power as PSV. I fear buying it because of the water kwa barabara ya Mombasa Road like now. Where is the battery positioned?" Most e-Powers, the battery is positioned at below the driver's, the passenger seat. And by the way, if you own an e-Power, they are amazing cars, but hazipendi maji. Yes, e-Powers don't like water, especially when there are floods. That's one thing. Asante sana, by the way, for reminding me that, and that will also shed insights to many people. If you own an e-Power and you find that the road is flooded, especially now, please don't drive it there. You might end up incurring some very serious costs. Gary Tush is saying, "Eric, when are we going to review the 3-liter MUX? Still yet to decide between it and the VXL." Now, Getty Tush, I think there's a discussion I would like to have here. So the new MUX 3-liter is now we are. In fact, I had the privilege of, even before the media launch of the assembly line, Mwirigi and I had the chance to visit the assembly point. In fact, when the first MUXs were being assembled, tulikuwa hapo kutoka zikiwa chassis, kuwekelewa body nini. We had the privilege to go, and I shared some of those insights on my socials. Ukienda pale utaziona. In fact, one of them is pinned on my Instagram. So the new MUX, because of local assembly, it's now going for around 9.9 million Kenya shillings. That's below 10 million. and that's a zero mileage high trim MUX. And the Kenyan market is clearly changing drastically, because you see, with the MUX being that price, it means that for the people who are buying VXLs and TZGs, you're better off buying a brand new MUX, because one, it comes with a warranty, you get a couple of free services, and these are brand new vehicle. These are brand new vehicles, so it will serve you problem free for even 10 years. And that's the beauty of buying a zero mileage vehicle. So very soon we are going to have very stiff competition between the zero mileages and also the Mitumbas. And also, you know, the draft automotive policy is also coming into play sooner or later. I remember in 2019 we tried to 2018-2019 we battled tulikataa hiyo draft automotive policy, but eventually juu sasa naona imerudi about say 6-7 years later, it's going to be implemented sooner or later, and it's good that also our local dealers are upping their game. So instead of buying a VXL, I love VXLs, by the way. I would sacrifice. Okay, but you see, sometimes you have to think logically when you're buying a car and not emotionally. So if you are to put an 8-year-old VXL and a brand new MUX, the MUX will make more sense. In fact, it is value for money, because you see, before then, even the cars we would buy as zero mileage they were basic, but the MUX, we actually having the highest trim of the MUX being sold for that price. And the other thing, to just to give you context on how important the assembly of the Isuzu MUX is, this is the first time the MUX is being assembled out of Thailand. Sawa sawa. But now I also want to bring in a twist. You see the new D-Max, the new MUX, and a pickup, Chinese pickup called the Jack T8, and another one called the Great Wall, the GWN P series. So all these vehicles have one common thing. And by the way, if we have this discussion, it might take up time, but it's a very interesting discussion. So all these three vehicles share a common differential architecture. And you see, sometimes if you look at Chinese vehicles differently, you will come to realize that these vehicles are actually, they may not be as bad as we think. And now that I've talked about the Jack T8 pickup, this one pickup that is going for like 4.5 million, brand new. And listen to this. I want us to talk about the engine, the gearbox, and the differential of this pickup. So I want to show you that these are cars you can actually buy and survive with. So the one that is being sold locally by Jack Kenya, remember, Mtumba Hilux is going for like 6 million, right? 5.56 million. This brand new Jack T8 is going for 4.5 million. So I want us to do this math since it has been brought up. You see, the engine on the Jack that is being sold locally is a 2-liter diesel that is called the 4-something-12. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged with the common rail direct injection. So this engine, I was doing my research and I came to find out that this engine and the Isuzu FJJ1, were they the 4JJ1 or, yeah, they actually share the same architecture. So what the Chinese did, they took that, no, was it the, let me confirm something for you right now. I like doing my research. Yes, the 4JJ1. So, no, wait. Yes, I was actually writing it on my notes, because these are some findings that I got a trigger today nikamua niangalie hii gari. So, because again, I love pickups and we all want, one of the reasons why you have Konnekt Live is to give you value for money. So, this vehicle is the Jack T8, and it comes with that engine that they call, nita nikuonyeshe hii maneno, Yes, it was the 4JJ1. Nilikuwa nataka kuangalia hiyo kitu so that I don't tell you something that is incorrect. So the 4JJ1 and this 4-cylinder 2-liter ya jack that is called the 4DB2 are actually, they share the same engine architecture. So what the jack guys did, the Chinese did, they took that 4JJ1 and they restyled it. So one, they twinkled with the displacement. So utapata the block is the same, even the mounting points. If you were to look at a D-Max, a 2012 D-Max, and this new Jack T8, you can actually fit the 4JJ1 hapo ingia, pop, like perfect fit. Now the only difference is the Chinese scaled down, they downsized the engine to 2 liters of displacement. Then you see the 4JG1, the fuel technology, they were using was it Denso or no, not Denso. They were using a Japanese they were using Japanese technology on it. So what the common rail plus the injector. So what the Chinese did on this one, they put in Bosch. So you see, even if you talk about the injectors, everything, hizo vitu ziko hapo ni za Bosch. So the Bosch is a dependable brand as well. Haya, tuendelee kwa hiyo engine. So it's basically like more or less the same block that has been downsized kidogo. So it might operate in the same way, but now the conrods and the pistons are different because the displacement imepunguzwa kidogo. The other thing is the diff. These two vehicles, the 2012 Isuzu D-Max and the Jack T8, they basically use the same differential unit with 11/43 pale kwa diff, pale kwa rack na pinion. So the drive ratio is the same. Yes, I know. That's how impressive this thing is. And the only difference between the axotube ya Jack T8 na ya D-Max is the mounting point. So it's something that you can actually modify. Uwekea Isuzu hapo. So if you are to buy a Jack T8, it would actually serve you very well. So hata ukikosa parts, unaweza weka parts za Isuzu hapo with very minimal modification. Tuko pamoja? I hope that was a long lecture, but it shows you that with deep research, you can be able to understand these Chinese vehicles better, and you can be able to enjoy them as you would enjoy a Japanese vehicle. But I'm going to do that. Nitatafuta hiyo gari ndio niwaonyeshe hizo vitu practically, na nataka niwaonyeshe hata hizo numbers za diff nini. Even the vacuum pipes are the same, the brakes are the same. So even the hubs zinafanana sana. So but we'll get to that. I'll look for that vehicle. I'll do a small mini series on my socials and also try to have a review of it so that you get to understand how close this vehicle is related to what is it called, to the Isuzu. So and when it comes to Chinese pickups, it's almost the same as the GWN, the Hunter P series. So yeah, hiyo maneno tutaongea baadaye. Tulikuwa wapi? Lenny Mashari is saying, no, let's first of all start. Eugene is saying, does Volvo have better safety features on their cars? Ama inakuanga pure lie. Volvo has very good safety features. We are talking about SIPs, side impact protection system. They invented the 3-point seat belt. You know, Volvo is, we can without a doubt say that Volvos are some of the safest cars in the world, and they are zimefuatwana. Pia Subarus of these days are very safe. You know, Subarus have even a pedestrian airbag. Yes, the modern Subarus are also very safe. So let no one lie to you that you cannot get safety in a Japanese car. Tuendele. Let's go. Tuendele. Zaki is saying Mazda Axela 2-liter versus Honda Civic 1.5-liter turbo, both 2018. Which one is better maintenance in reliability? So Hondas are very good. You see, the same drivetrain and the powertrain on the Civic 1.5 turbo is the same one on the Honda Jade 1.5, the Honda Jade RS non-hybrid, or the 1.5 turbo. It's the same, very reliable. The only difference is in as much as the Honda has a superior engine, it has an inferior gearbox. In as much as the Axela has a naturally aspirated engine, it has a superior gearbox, the 6-speed torque converter automatic. You see, it makes little or no sense having a turbocharged engine with a CVT. Man, it doesn't give you the fun aspect of driving that car. So it's if you're looking for reliability, both of them are very reliable. But if you're looking at an engaging drive, I think you would have to. Both have a shortcoming. The Mazda, it has a very reliable 1.5 naturally aspirated. The Honda has a turbocharger, which makes it more exciting to drive. However, if you are an enthusiast, you can go for the Axela diesel. It's going to give you, it's going to be fun to drive, and it's going to be quite reliable if taken care of. Na bado itakupatia that fuel economy. James Gitari is saying, Eric, watching from Gong, with a budget of 1.4 million Kenya shillings, is it better to buy a locally used Mazda 3 or import an hybrid Honda Fit? Priority being reliability. I would say buy a locally used Mazda 3 for the same cost. Honda Fits zimekuwa very expensive lately. David Kamau was saying, Liona mahali 2017 GLE 400D being sold about 5 to 6M. Ni kuchokoro ama ni nini? Hiyo lazima mtu angalie. You cannot give we cannot give a judgment without first seeing the vehicle. Emilio is saying, "Hi Eric, does Nissan Kicks e-Power have a gearbox?" Well, Emilio, I would say, do they have a gearbox? That's a very interesting question. So e-Powers, from the Nissan Note e-Power, the Nissan Serena e-Power, the new Nissan X-Trail T33 e-Force, all of them, they are basically electric vehicles with an engine that functions as a generator. Sawa, we are getting to where you are. So this engine has no mechanical connection to the wheels. Are we together up to that point? So electric vehicles do not have a conventional gearbox. They have what is called a one-speed or a single-speed gearbox transmission. Yeah, so they have a device that will, transmit. They don't have a direct drive. The motor doesn't have a direct drive, but they have that one-speed transmission or single-speed transmission. They're called not single-speed. They're called one-speed. There is a difference between a small technical difference between the two. But yes, so we cannot say they have a gearbox. They have a transmission, but they don't have a gearbox. Sawa. Moses Wagura is saying, what are the shortcomings of owning a Nissan Sunny B15? Well, the shortcomings are, if you buy one that has not been kept well, it might be quite a problem. But generally B15s are good cars. You only have to make sure you get one that has been taken care of. Lenny Mashari is saying, also, if possible, review ile Toyota ya Joan for reals ilifanywa Precision's automobile ya Imran. That build is awesome. Yeah, it's a quite an interesting build, I agree. Felix Kerosi is saying, which BMW car is more reliable in Kenya at a budget of below 5 million? Felix, what's your definition of reliability? I would like to know that. Also, 5 million uko na gari mingi sana to choose from. It's also good to understand whether you're talking about a 5 series, a 3 series, a 2 series, or 1 series, or even a 7 series, ama the crossover series of BMWs. That will narrow down our scope. Tuendele. Kaizen Mark is saying, VP Wakabi, Golf GTI with local mechanics now understanding the engine and transmission, worth buying as a first-time car owner? I would say yes, if you have good technical support and if you can afford maintaining the car, because it's an amazing car to drive. It's a good car to drive, but make sure you have a good technical support network, and also make sure you have the chums to manage that car, to maintain that car. Emmanuel Bet is typing while deleting. Edwin Momanyi is saying, hello, someone wants to sell me a Mitsubishi Airtrek 2002 model. Is it a car you would advise someone for a daily drive? Airtrek, with which engine? I would like to know which engine it comes with. Airtreks are nice, they are good cars, but also the engine is a key determinant. So which engine is that Airtrek coming with? Trevor Eliud is saying, the KD series comes with 5-speed manual and the autos, but the 1GD version nimeona inakuja ni auto pekee. Though H300 iko na gear 6 manual, lakini H200 kutoka 2018 1GD sijaona any manual. Trevor Eliud, they are manuals. There are so many 1GD manuals. It only depends on where you're getting it from. Eugene is saying, hi Eric, how are the Renault, Peugeot and Suzuki cars in terms of reliability, especially the little sporty versions? I would like to know which ones, because if you are talking about Renault, there are so many sporty versions of the Renault. There is the Clio or the Lutetia. Clio, Lutetia, same car. There is also the Megane. There is kwa Peugeot kuna 208, 308. So it's good to like get to the basics of them instead of giving a blanket judgment, because sometimes there are components of these cars that might be problematic depending on which model it is. For instance, Renaults have some close relationships to Nissan because of the Renault-Mitsubishi-Nissan alliance. Peugeot, they are French, so it depends on which vehicle and which year. Because now you see, if you are talking about say a Clio or a Lutetia, sometimes they come with a dual clutch transmission, but the engine has so many parts sourced from Nissan. So yes, it depends on which vehicle we are talking about. Tuendelee. Okay, Josenderi is saying, Buddha Boss, following the show and learning is taking place. Thank you so much, Josenderi. Rights ya huyu jamaa na jina ngumu. Mazee leo ni kunoma Eric. Samsung wana release S26 na wewe huku una drop nuggets. Imebidi TV ni wewe, alafu laptop Uncle Sami. Spoil for choice walai. Thank you so much. Asante sana. Right Side Cars. Karota Uganda is saying, good evening family. Elkana Kipkoech is saying, hi Wakabi. I'm looking to get a Toyota Corolla Sport 1200cc manual. How much are the taxes CRSP for 2019 of these vehicles, and how much would it cost to import one for me? So Elkana Kipkoech, do these tafadhali write us a WhatsApp message on 0710 844 863. I'll have to check this from the KRA websites and also from our clearing agents to make sure that we don't have a ruling on it. So text us on WhatsApp. The number is 0710 844 863. 0710 844 863. Let me pin it for you on the comments. 0710 844 863. There we have it. Yes, and I've pinned it on the comments. You can drop us a WhatsApp hapo. Okay. Tuendelee. David Mutama is saying, which Toyota engine is better to modify? Mitsubishi GDI 4G93. What are the requirements for engine swap in advice? Hey, David Mutama, you see, engine swaps are not for the faint-hearted. Number one, it will depend on which car, because the 4G93 was in several vehicles, including the Mitsubishi RVR sports gear, ile ya kwanza. Also, we had some 4G93s on the Airtrek. So I'd like us to and also on the Lancers. So I'd like us to know which particular model ndio tujue the fitment of the car. However, if you're doing such an engine swap, you would need to, in some cases, you might need to swap the gearbox. You might need to modify the front suspension, and modifications require a lot of patience. You see, you don't take a vehicle for an engine swap and drive it off the garage same day. No, lazima uipatie window ya kama 1 week so that you can get the problems and try to get rid of them, because sometimes they are too small, annoying problems that come with engine swaps. So by telling us the model of the vehicle that you want to do the swap on, we are going to see if we are going to go the direction of changing everything, or because sometimes there are mechanics who will tell you because the drive shafts are different, especially if you're retaining the gearbox, you will have to work on the drive shaft. So sometimes unakata the old drive shaft and you get a new drive shaft and you graft them together. So what happens if you graft them together jua kali and you don't take it for balancing, hiyo gari itaishi kuvibrate. Front wheel drive engine swaps are not easy. Rear wheel drive are very straightforward because we don't have much to battle up mbele. But with front wheel drive, and that's why I'm insisting, we need to know which car you are swapping the engine on, because there are so many technicalities that would be involved, and also which engine, because not all engines can be swapped in that vehicle. Alternative is saying, is it okay to drive a 2006 Allion 1.8 which disconnects propeller ya nyuma? Does it affect power? Well, I think that is a mod that is made by people who think that making a four-wheel drive, these are people who are trying to make a four-wheel drive Allion two-wheel drive. Well, it's a Toyota, so there is no much harm. In fact, you will only not be sending power to the wheels. But one thing, it's going to function as a normal front-wheel drive vehicle. But you see, one thing I always say is there are a lot of things to put into perspective if you look at a car with the eyes of an engineer and not in the eyes of a mechanic. One, four-wheel drive vehicles are slightly heavier compared to the two-wheel drive variants. So whenever you cut the power from, you cut the traction from the rear wheels by disconnecting the prop shaft, it means that you have slightly more weight that is riding on the front wheels. So what will that do? It means you will not be saving much when it comes to fuel consumption, because yes, you have solved the traction issue, but now you have added, you're only running on one axle but carrying more weight compared to a two-wheel drive. To be honest, you'd rather just keep the car as two-wheel drive. If you think about critically, it makes little or no sense. However, if they have done it, it does not have any mechanical implications. Tuko pamoja? It only depends on from what angle are you looking at it. Tuendelee. Johnston Kioko is saying, hello Eric, which is better for a first-time car? Suzuki Escudo K14C booster jet, I love that engine. All grip, or Suzuki SX4, same engine. Personally, I would go for the Escudo because it's bigger and it looks better. You know, these SX4s, sorry to say, I find them to have looks only a mother would love. But that's a personal opinion. Just saying, hey Eric, the episode you did on ambulances yesterday, could you speak about the wide body Mercedes ambulances? Yes, they are there, and they are mostly based on the Toyota Sprinters. Tutaongea kuhusu hiyo maneno soon, but not also the Sprinters, by the way. There are also some ambulances that are based on the, was it the V? No, the V class is quite small. But there's one I'm forgetting. But most of them are based on the Sprinters, because Sprinters are big. In fact, you can do more on a Sprinter long wheelbase than you can on a Toyota Hiace High Medic. It is, and unajua High Medic venye inatoshana ni kama this commuter high roof yenye watu wanaita 9L, but with an extended hatch, so you can actually stand and move around. So now a Sprinter is even higher and even longer. So yeah, you can do more with a Sprinter as an ambulance. Stephen Moredi is saying, hello Wakabi, talk about the Jetwa T2. Hey, watu wameulizia Jetwa sana. Jetwas are nice cars. They look good. They have very good features, value for money. The Chinese are not joking when it comes to that. Comes with a DCT, but I would say it's too early to talk about the reliability of the Jetwa T2. We would need it to be on the road a little bit longer. And also considering that these are brand new cars, we would need to see them on the road for a longer time for us to give a verdict. Hata mtoto huwezi jua kama atakuwa mwizi ama atakuwa kasisi ama atakuwa wanaitwa nani? Si sister, watu kama atakuwa kauzi, kama atakuwa nyang'au. ama atakuwa mtu wa maana kwa society when they are still babies. You know, traits za mwizi huanza kuonekana mtu akiwa hapo kutoka miaka 8. So hata with cars, let's give them time because they are not only new in Kenya, they are new globally. So we need to see them. The only thing I've been reading about the Jetwa T2, and one of the problems I've seen from Australia is the overheating dual clutch transmission when subjected to extreme off-road conditions, and also the normal problem ikiwa under low speeds unasikia ikijack kidogo. And that's a normal problem with dual clutch transmissions. They are not very smooth in low speed applications. Tuendele Wakabi Honda Grace for first time car owner, good car. If you get the non-hybrid, perfect car. Ukipata non-hybrid, perfect. Robert Katina is saying, hey Eric, what's the best way to clean a clogged catalytic converter? Robert Katina, using a catalytic converter cleaner. They are there in the market. Kevin is saying, talk about the Toyota Volts. How reliable is it since it got ground clearance? Volts, they are not bad. They are good vehicles. The only challenge with them is where to get body parts. Patrick Munga is saying, hey Eric with a CK, would you advise somebody to buy an Auris manual RS 6-speed? Anytime, yes, it's a good car, amazing car. Evans Mugambi is saying, hello Eric, between a BMW X1 with a B47 diesel engine and a Tiguan with a 2.0 TDI, which is the better buy in terms of reliability? Nikwambie ukweli, nunua Tiguan 2.0 TDI. In as much as it will give you, wacha nikwambie, the Tiguan has more technical support, especially with those diesel engines, so it means I would find it as the lesser evil compared to the B47. Although even B47s are not bad. If you know how to take care of your car, the B47 is not bad. But to be on the safe ground, I would go for the 2-liter TDI from the Tiguan. Hello, Wakabi. Your recommendation on Note e-Power is more for taxi bees. Can car wash affect the battery? Mesut, if you go for a detail wash, it can. Iya kutoa viti alafu mnaosha. Iyo it can. But I've seen so many e-Powers working as taxis. Their fuel economy is very good. The only problem with now the e-Power is the pricing point. That's the only problem we have with the Nissan e-Power. Culture Tune KE is saying, mzee, between kubai 2014 Land Cruiser 76 at 4.5 million and buying parts kama body, engine hadi ikue, what makes more economic sense? Brother. Land Cruiser parts are expensive. You see, on diffs alone, if you're talking about the 76, on diffs alone, you'll be spending 280,000. Sawa? Hatujanunua body, hatujanunua nini. Diffs pekee ya mbele na nyuma unatumia 280 to 300,000. Aya, weka engine. Engine 1HZ sahi ni pesa ngapi? You see, engine, gearbox and the 2 diffs, front and rear, tayari 1 million imeenda bila labor. I would say just buy one that is moving. And you see, if you're buying it as parts, remember you're buying hard spring. We're talking about the front coils, the rear leaf springs. You're also buying things such as brake lines. You're buying the prop shafts. Then bana nunua gari inatembea. Not unless now you're buying it over time. Yeah? Unless you're buying it over time. Na naona masaa imesonga sana. Today has been a very well, allow me to answer two questions. 2 questions. One, for Medic in Marsabit, I wanted to shift from a Kluger to the previous generation Harrier. But now that you have talked about the NV200, can it handle the terrain with a few medical equipments? Lenny Masharia, you would need to modify it kidogo. Na hapo suspension itakukalia kidogo. So Lenny, inbox me on WhatsApp. That number that is there, I'll get back to you. We are going to have a candid conversion on that, because Marsabit is not for the faint hearted. Kama unaitumia kwa lami NV200 ni sawa, kama inaingia off-road hapo we need to talk. So thank you guys for keeping this interactive, and we do this every Wednesday. Remember kuna video hapo. By the way, week this week tumewachunga masilahi yenyu sana. Tulianza na blade ya 3.5 liter 2GR pale Monday. Tuesday tukawaletea ambulance, na hii Wednesday tumewaletea live. What more could you be asking for? And as usual, it could only get better. Sawa. So over and out, guys. See you next Wednesday, but we have another fire episode on Monday. Na msisahau, Mira season 2 is coming. Sawa. Over and out, and Gen Z with experience says goodbye uko nyuma, na the entire Konnekt team. We love you, and continue subscribing to the channel and spreading the word. Sawa. Now, by the way, we are filming from Prince Drive Garage, Mirema First Avenue. For the people in Nairobi, we can serve you from here. For the people in Eldoret, we serve you from our garage that is called Neon Mobility, pale Pioneer. Ukienda hapo tafuta kijana anaitwa Ezekiel, kijana wa Ingo, Ezekiel Juma. He will sort your car. And for the Subaru guys, we have good things coming for you in the City of Champions. Good night, guys. Over and out.